Hello, this is the Balkan Architect, and in this video I will talk about dimension styles. If you don't know how to place basic dimensions, I suggest you watch my video on placing dimensions. The link will be in the description below. So now the dimension style. The dimension style basically determines how your dimension looks. It determines these arrows and the length of these lines, the numbers, everything. So in order to access that, you need to type in dimension style or dim style, which is the shortcut for the manager. So here we have dim style, enter, and here we have dimension style manager. So here we have our dimension styles. You see we have standard, which is this over here. That's basically what comes with AutoCAD when you buy it, and it's really not all that creative. So now we can either modify this, we can set it current, or we can create a new dimension style, which is maybe a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to create a new. I'm going to name it new dim style, and this start with basically means it's going to copy everything that's in this dimension style, and then we can start changing it. So I'm just going to leave that standard and go with continue. Now we have the new dimension style, and here's basically all the settings. Here we have some tabs, and we're going to start with the first one, which is lines. Now here first we have dimension lines, and first thing is color. Now you can change the color. You can basically choose whichever color you want, or what's a little better is to choose by layer. So this means that your layer will determine the color of your dimensions. Next you have line type, which is also controlled in this instance by block, but I suggest you leave it by layer. So basically the layer will determine the line type, and the same with the line weight. I usually leave it by layer. Now we have this extend beyond ticks, and you can see it's grayed out. You can't access it. That's because we have these ugly arrows and we don't really want them. So before we continue over here, we're just going to skip over to this symbols and arrows and just change this arrowhead to oblique. We'll talk a bit later about it. So now we're just going to go back to lines, and now we have this extend beyond ticks. This basically means what is the distance beyond this tick and how long will it extend. I usually leave it at, let's say, 20. We're doing this for the scale that will be 1 to 100. So I'm just going to leave here 20. Now let's go to extend beyond dim lines. Now you see when I clicked here, this went all berserk and you can't really see anything. That's okay. When we change everything, it will look normal again. So extend beyond dim lines is basically how far this line extends beyond the dim lines. You can see it here. And now I'm also going to type in 20 over here. Now we have this offset from origin. Offset from origin basically means how far from your drawing you want your dim lines to start. I usually leave it at 20 as well. And here we have fixed length extension lines, and we have basically length, but it's grayed out. If we check it, that means that basically this distance over here will be fixed, and you can basically write down how long would you like it to be. So I'm just going to type in 20 as well. Now here we have these extension lines, and you can basically set the color. I usually leave it at by layer, and you can change independently line 1 and line 2. Those are these vertical lines over here, and this one that's over here, you can't see it right now. I just leave them all at by layer because I think it's best when it takes from the layer of these settings. And you can suppress extension line 1 and extension line 2. That basically means it will just turn off. This will be the one and the other is extension line 2. We should leave it. There is no reason to suppress it. Now let's go to symbols and arrows. This is the symbol that's basically the end of your dimension. I like to leave it at oblique because I usually do architectural drawings and it's best to be left at that, but you can open it up and you can change it, maybe put a small dot or a filled box or whatever you like. There's a lot of choice over here. This is for the first one, this is for the second one. Whatever you do, I suggest you leave the same one on both of them. Now we have arrow size, that is basically this distance over here, and in this case I will just leave it at 20. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to text. Now you can see this is all berserk, doesn't matter, it will be okay at the end. Here with text style you can basically choose which text style would you like to have. You click on these three dots over here and you can choose your font. So here we have font name. I usually like Century Gothic, so I'm going to find where it is. Century Gothic. Okay, it looks quite nice. And you can put it bold, or maybe bold italic, or just italic. I prefer regular. For a size, I suggest you don't really touch this. This allows AutoCAD to try to determine the size according to the scale, and I just prefer not to use it. It usually messes it up. Here we have some effects, upside down, backwards, you don't really need to use it, and this width factor just messes up the font. You can see if I type in 2, it's just silly, so just leave it at 1. I'm just going to set it current. Yes, save changes, and close. Now we have here a text color. I prefer to use it by layer again, just to have everything the same color. And fill color, we don't really have fill in this text style, so we're just gonna leave it at none. As far as text height, that basically determines the height of the text, or numbers in this case. I'm just going to type in, let's say, 15. And here we have text placement. We have vertical, horizontal, and view direction. I always keep it above. You can see here now it's going back to normal because text is now according to all these line dimensions. Now when we go above, you can see now text is above. If we put it center, now this is outside, centered, it will be in the center, so I like to keep it above. As far as horizontal placement, I like to keep it centered, just in the middle of the dim line. You don't want to move it around. And view direction left to right, as always. Now offset from dim line, that is basically this size of this offset over here, and I leave it, usually a good rule of thumb is the third of what your text height is. So my text height is 15, so my offset will be 5. And I usually, for text alignment, I leave it aligned with dimension line. So you can see now everything is aligned. If we check horizontal, this will be horizontal, and it just doesn't look right. So I leave it aligned. And next we have fit. This is not really important. And now units. Units, this is very important. Usually keep it at decimal, that's what I prefer. Precision, I leave it just 0 decimal places. This is for architectural drawings, you don't really need them. And the round off point, I'd leave it at 0. For decimal separator, that's basically if you had basically this, you can leave it at period or comma or just an empty space. If you're using decimal spaces, I suggest you leave period, but I'm not going to use them. Scale factor means if you're printing if you're trying to print some specific scale, but I suggest you do everything in AutoCAD in 1:1 and then set up the scale later. If you're interested in watching a tutorial on how you set up scale, I suggest you watch the video in the description. So that's pretty much it for this dimension styles. You just go OK, we find our new dimension style, we click set current, we close this dialog, and let's go to this object over here. We go dim, enter, and when we place our style, and you can see when we pull it out, it looks like that. And I'm just going to hit escape. So that's how you set up the dimension style in AutoCAD. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for daily videos. Leave a comment like this video, share it, and have a nice day.